Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Today I want to return to a subject that I discussed, well, over a week ago at least, I think, but not that long ago. It was about YouTube censoring one of my videos. Now that video, it elicited a comment from somebody, unfortunately. Well, I think it was a she. I don't remember her name. On the other hand, these days there are what? I have 50 sexes to choose from, right? So the odds are 1 out of 50 that I'm remembering correctly. So if I got it wrong and it's one of the 49 other sexes, then I'm sorry. I did the best I could. But the main point I want to get to today is I have a bit of an update. Now, that person had said at the time that, well, too bad, YouTube is a private company, they can censor whatever they want. And I had, well, I don't remember all the details of the argument at that time, or I don't want to take the time to sum them all up now, but basically it was that you reach a point where there's a monopoly, where one company becomes a monopoly and then the government can step in. I'm not going to go into, as I said, a lot of detail on that because there's been a new development, something that I didn't think of, that changes the whole argument around. I think that it's a valid argument that Google cannot censor material. It hinges on a particular issue, and that's what I want to talk about today. Specifically, what I want to talk about is about a court case, a lawsuit brought against YouTube for, well, the suit is from a vlogger, Prager University, or just Prager U. What that is, that's Dennis Prager. He's a pundit commentator. He has a conservative website where he does little, I think they're 5-minute videos on various subjects from a conservative point of view. Now, what YouTube did was, well, YouTube did not outright censor their videos, but 10% of the videos, they, number one, demonetized them so that Prager U could not have advertisements with their videos to generate income. But the second thing that they did was to put the, well, to categorize, or however the technical process is, to restrict the videos, to put them into a restricted mode. Now, what is a restricted mode? It's a filter that anybody can use to restrict certain content that could be overtly sexual or pornographic or overly violent. Its primary purpose is for adults, parents, to be able to filter out certain videos that they don't want their children to see because, again, it's overly sexual. It just has harmful implications for children. So these Prager U videos, about 10% of their total output of videos, was put into this restricted, I guess you'd say, category, where parents, adults, who, now this material is not, it's just conservative opinions or subjects treated from a conservative point of view. They are not pornographic, they are not violent, they are not any of these things that would be harmful to an adult or that an adult should not see. But because these videos are put in this restricted area, any adult who has that filter on to protect their children will not see these videos, even though it's perfectly appropriate for them to be able to see them. So Prager U is suing. Now, well, this is a very smart lawyer, this legal team that Prager U has, because this is their argument, and it's true, and it's important to note that they are not challenging outright YouTube's right to censor videos. This is what they are doing, and this is the argument. Now, as you probably know or should know, if you try to sue YouTube for something that appears on their channel because it's libelous or slanderous, or for whatever other reason that could precipitate a legal action in a court, if you try to do that to YouTube, they will say, well, we're just a public forum. We're not a publisher. We just provide a platform for people to post videos. We're not responsible for the content of those videos. You see, that's what they'll say. But on the other hand, if somebody such as, well, Prager U or somebody like me complains to YouTube, we are a private company. We can censor your videos. We can put whatever we want on the channel. We can censor whatever we want. We can keep off YouTube whatever we want. You create a conflict, and this is the conflict. They say on the one hand we're a public forum, and on the other hand they say they're a private company. This is what the lawyers for Prager U brought before the court, and this is the issue. The issue is that, is YouTube a public forum or is it a publisher? That's the distinction. They say, well, we're a private company. Well, they're a private company in either case, but if they're a publisher, then, well, I'm linking in the description to a short video on Prager U and on YouTube to give them credit that you can look at to get the whole argument. As I said, it's about a 5-minute video. That's the typical length of their videos. But what they're saying is, if you're a publisher, if they're saying that they're a publisher that can publish whatever they want, then they're saying they're like, say, the New York Times. That's the example that the lawyer used. The New York Times, as everybody knows, they have a perfect right to decide what appears in the New York Times, either in the paper or on the website. But this is the important part, that if they can decide, if they're a publisher that can decide what they put on their website or in their paper, then they are accountable for what they do decide to put in their paper. In other words, they can be sued. And in fact, they're being sued right now by Sarah Palin. You may remember she claims that she was libeled, that the Times published an article blaming her for a shooting. I forget which one it was, but you remember the thing with the map and the crosshairs, which were really just publishing symbols. But the point was, she sued for libel. A lower court threw the case out, dismissed the case. Sarah Palin appealed, and it was only recently that a higher court reinstated the case. So they're being sued. Now, YouTube, if they can decide if what they put on their site, then they're a publisher too, and they can be sued. And now you have to remember that there's a lot of material posted on YouTube. In fact, the last figure I read was that 300 hours of content are posted on YouTube every minute. And if YouTube is a publisher that can decide what goes on its site, then YouTube is accountable for every second of that 300 hours per minute. For example, if YouTube posted a vlog saying the same thing that the New York Times said about Sarah Palin, then YouTube can be sued too. Sarah Palin can sue YouTube. And that's just one example. You're talking about, as I just said, 300 hours of video every minute for which YouTube can be held accountable. So instead of putting up videos and then taking them down, because that's what the Times did essentially in print. They put up this article about Sarah Palin, and then the next day they issued a correction or retracted the article or something or whatever, but the damage had already been done, and Sarah Palin is suing. We'll see how it turns out. But if you're talking about the amount of material that we're talking about for YouTube, that it's just to me, a gold mine for lawyers, because if you sift through that much material, you're probably going to find something that's actionable. And even if the plaintiff loses, there would probably be a lot of cases where it makes more sense for YouTube to just settle out of court instead of going to court for all of these cases. So you're talking about a lot of money, one way or the other. Now, the other alternative is that YouTube is not a publisher. They are a public forum. But if they're a public forum, then they cannot censor material. If they're a public forum, they have to be open to all ideas, all points of view. They cannot treat one, again, unless it's pornographic or something, they cannot treat one point of view differently from another. If they're going to put Prager U stuff in restricted category, then they have to put liberal content in the same category, or vice versa. If they don't for one, then they can't for the other. And this is the clever argument and perfectly valid argument that, again, I hadn't thought of, that the Prager U lawyers are making. They are not saying, they are not claiming that Prager U is a public forum that must let Prager U's videos, all of them, be in the main part of YouTube outside of the restricted mode area. And they are not arguing that YouTube is a publisher that can be sued. What they are arguing is that YouTube cannot be both. They have to be one or the other. Either YouTube is a publisher that can be held liable, that is accountable for every second of every video that goes on their site, which would mean that they have to, as I said, the problem with the New York Times, they cannot put up a video and then just take it down. Once that video is up there, they can be sued. So they would have to hire a team of lawyers or somebody to look at all of those videos, every second of all of those videos before they go on YouTube. So that's one possibility. Or they're a publisher that has to let Prager U post their videos in the main part of YouTube with all the other videos of conflicting points of view. So that's what they're saying to the court. Decide which is YouTube. Is it a publisher or is it a public forum? Prager U will accept either result, but YouTube cannot be both. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know I'm not qualified to give legal advice, but as a layman, it would just seem to me that it would make more sense for YouTube simply to take Prager U's videos out of the restricted area and stop censoring conservative videos such as, well, Prager U, but also such as mine. So I'm watching the case. Hopefully I'll bring you an update in the future, but that's it's quite a development, and I wanted everybody to know about it, and I would really love people to comment on it, especially lawyers. If any lawyers are watching this, there's a comment section below. But you know what else there is? There's a thumbs up symbol, so you can do a thumbs up if you really like this video, and you can, well, as I just said, put the comments in there, and you can subscribe, and you can come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you back again, and bring all your friends and family. And until next time, bye.